Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to our second and final orientation session for the Guatemala trip this summer for educators.
We're excited. I'm excited because I'm the one that's going to be with most of you.
I'm jealous and excited. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with these slides. And, I did want to mention that if you have any questions that come up throughout the entire duration of the session, please send them on in. We'll have on the agenda the email in case you don't have it. And if you're joining us live, then you're welcome to send them in and we'll address them at the end of the session. We'll have a little Q&A. So let me go ahead and go to the screen share. Okay. Here it is.
Great. Some of the things that we're going to be covering during this presentation are culture shock in general, some of the resources, the family homestays and the family information that you're going to be receiving for where you'll be staying specifically, the school that we'll be visiting, and both schools that we're partnered with. And you can see at the bottom right there, that's the email address that you can send any questions you have that we'll answer at the end.
Quick reminder, thank you to those people that have taken care of their invoice. The due date on those is this Friday. Make sure that you are taking care of that. It's set up through Square, which means that you can pay. The easiest way is actually through credit card. So if you lost track of the email that had the Square invoice on it, then I would be happy to send you another copy. So please email me at info@Spanish4Educators.org if you need it to be resent or if you have any questions regarding your invoice. I've already spoken with a couple people that would like to add on the T-call extension, for example. So if you look at your invoice and you notice that something doesn't look right, then please let me know, and I'd be happy to make those adjustments and send you another copy. Thank you.
So what you're seeing with this this little diagram here is something that's based on a semester. However, there is an opportunity to experience a little bit of culture shock. Guatemala is a developing country, and everyone has their own filter and own experience as to how they manage that. What's most important, and generally at the beginning there is this honeymoon period, and we're looking through these eyes of wonder at everything that we're seeing, and then after a while it can get a little tiring. And like I said, each one of us is going to have our own individual experience. But what's most important is that if you're finding yourself to be exhausted or having a hard time managing things, then let us know. Let myself or Karen or Blanca know. And also you'll be in families with the mother there or people that you'll be staying with in our group as well. So don't let things get out of control if that's where you end up landing. That we're all there to support each other.
And I've also experienced quite a bit this reverse culture shock where you get home back to the US and you're like, wow, there's running water that I can actually drink from the sink. And I just stare at this water coming out of the sink and different things like that. So, and the access to information and being, everybody being on their smartphones. So that's another big thing that we've noticed is the reverse culture shock when you get back into the US. So just kind of be prepared for that as well. Another quick reminder, please make sure that you are, if you haven't already, thank you to those people that did that after the first orientation, but make sure that you're going over to our Facebook page. The address is right there. And like the page, and that's going to be kind of one of the main places to go during the actual trip as far as, dumping photos or whatever the case may be. We also are going to be setting up a Shutterfly share site. So whether it be during the trip or afterwards, especially if you're able to kind of collect those photos that you've been able to take throughout the trip, and then everybody can kind of share and have those photos in one place. So please make sure to like our Facebook page.
So this doing graduate credits is well worth it. It's $375 for 3 credits. And what you need to know is it's still open. So it's an easy opportunity to have or to get your horizontal salary increase or lane change. And you'll be able to click for more information after this presentation for the syllabus as well as registration if you're interested. And if you have very specific questions that you'd like answered or concerns, then please email Karen Immerso. She'll be able to answer anything you leave with us, as you know. So along the way, she'll be full of information.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to have the instructor for the graduate credits along on the trip. It's the first time that that's happened. We are working with Western State University for the first time. So that's a great, unique opportunity. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Real quick, as far as media goes, if you do not want to be in any photos that'll end up on the Facebook page or marketing or anything like that, just send a quick email to let me know. Not a big deal, but other than that, that could be a definite possibility. Also, I have a lesson plan that I've done with especially when I was teaching high school. It is a little bit more appropriate for the older ages. It talks about the CIA's involvement in the regime change in Guatemala during the Civil War. And so it's a really, really great lesson that deals with primary sources. There's a declassified CIA document that it's really incredible what the CIA did to be able to kind of put in their powers that be that were kind of more in line politically with their side. So it does have some graphic elements of it as far as one of the main premises of this CIA document is like how to assassinate somebody. So again, more mature audiences, but I think it's really valuable for people to know kind of the politics of this region and specifically how the United States has dealt with this region in the past, because as many of you guys probably know, it wasn't just in Guatemala, it was in a majority of countries in the Western Hemisphere where there was indirect or direct involvement related to the Cold War. On the part of whether it be especially the United States or USSR. So anyways, especially if that fits in with your curriculum or your scope and sequence, then go ahead and click on we're going to be sharing this slide deck. And so you'll be able to click there to be able to kind of access the primary source and the lesson. And there's a slideshow and stuff like that. And then finally, my cousin studied anthropology and is a PhD professor. I believe now she's actually at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. And I don't know why the title's not coming up that great, but she basically studied the effect of war on children in war-torn areas. And so she lived in Guatemala for, I think it was like 6 completely. And she's where she lived is not necessarily where, but it was where war was really, really kind of a everyday type of thing with the 40-year conflict that happened. So yeah, it would be, even if you just view the abstract or whatever the case may be, then you're welcome to. And there's a full text of it online as well that you can access through this slide.
Well, we've chosen your homestay families, and what we did is we based it on your preferences, your interests, when you were arriving, and some similarities that we did. The families that we use and that we've developed a relationship with are just wonderful people. So we're hoping that everything goes really, really smoothly.
Yeah, it's been something that we've really gotten a lot of positive feedback in the past, and as a just going directly through a Spanish school or some other situation, typically there's only going to be anywhere from like 2 to 4 people in each house. And so it really allows for a lot more of that kind of cultural immersion where you really get to know the families. And so we're confident that it's going to be a great experience for you guys.
You've worked with them for quite a while. So some things to remember is that Guatemala is a developing country. And it sounds really easy to say that when we're all sitting in our living rooms, maybe watching this, or, you know, with our toes, you know, nestling into the carpet, but it is a developing country and there's going to be a lot of differences there. Really beautiful differences, and also some things that are going to be challenging. Most of the homes in Guatemala only have one toilet. There's no air conditioning. There's no screens or windows. Basically, there's slats that you open and close. And oftentimes, as was our culture many, many, many years ago, and still in many parts of the world, there's an extended family that often lives with families, which is really great because you get to know the whole family oftentimes. It is a hoot, actually. And we've said this before, and most of the homes have internet, but it can be, the service is fickle. So, however, the La Union, the place that we'll be studying Spanish, has really good wireless access. And one thing that you should know too is that because there's no screens or windows on the windows, it's dusty. Things get a little dusty there. And what we consider clean here, or ultra clean, or anything like that, is going to be a little bit different there. All the families that we work with keep a clean home, a very, very clean home, given the standards that we're going to be living in. However, it most likely will be a little different than what you're used to. So just maintain an open mind and know that it's 2 weeks. It's doable.
And also, with that being said, you know, with the no screens on the window, the bugs, Antigua is a very mild climate typically, and so it's not something like mosquitoes that you have to deal with. The main thing I've noticed that is during dinner time with some flies in the kitchen area.
Yeah.
So that's something that definitely takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
And because there's no screens and because there's food being served. And so those types of minor things that could contribute a little bit to the culture shock side of things, but try to maintain an open mind and just enjoy it. And, you know, and also realize that it's for 2 weeks. So even if it's something that's really a challenge for you, then it's, you know, it's not going to be for a long time.
Well, and plus the families are so wonderful. I mean, I would imagine that most of you are going to fall in love with these people that you're staying with. They're going to be so curious about you. They're so loving. And that kind of mitigates usually sometimes the discomfort of these little things.
So a few things that you can expect, and again, we've worked with the majority of these families for quite a while now, and so these are some of the non-negotiables. For example, that you will have no more than 2 people in your bedroom. Often you will have your own bedroom. If you do have a roommate, it will be where obviously each person will have their own bed, and then no more than 4 people will be sharing a bathroom. Typically, the meals, there's a little bit of a description there as far as what you can expect for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We try to work with the families to make sure that there's, for example, like a protein scattered throughout the meals, which sometimes could be frijoles, like refried beans. It's not necessarily going to be a meat. And same thing with coffee. Coffee, you know, Guatemala is a very big coffee country. It's one of the biggest coffee countries in the Western Hemisphere. But as you'll learn when you go to the coffee plantation that we have on our activities, a lot of the best coffee gets sent to the United States and Europe.
Same with chocolate.
Chocolate as well.
Seriously, you can't find a good bar of chocolate in the grocery store. You have to come back home to get it.
So yeah, I mean, if there is coffee that's served in the morning, there is a good chance it could be I think it's like Nescafe or whatever that instant coffee is, where it's not necessarily, if you're like somebody that really enjoys a nice cup of drip coffee, then you might need to, you know, take a little bit of time and when you have some free time to be able to go to, you know, one of the many different little cafes that they have in Antigua or whatever the case may be, but there's some expectations. Another big thing is that there is purified water that's unlimited with the family.
Yep.
If for whatever reason, if it's inconsistent or if you don't have it, then please make sure to let Tiffany or Karen or Blanca know as soon as possible. And the Spanish school also does provide
Yes.
unlimited purified water. And then also there is no meals on Sundays. As you know, Guatemala is a very religious country, Catholic, and the families, they're working 6 days a week, very, very hard. And so, it's the least that we can do is to, give them Sundays where there's no meals, where they get the time off, they get to spend the time, go to church, have the Sabbath, spend time with their family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then, so when you get this slide deck, if you want to take a look at the descriptions, then you can click right there. This is slide number 12. And then also we have it that we wanted to at least show you just kind of a little preview. So as you'll see here, we've got by color just for simplicity, but in the past it hasn't really caught on as well as far as like, yay, we're the purple group or we're the green group or whatever. No. But it's more for organization, just to be able to kind of separate things, be simple, that sort of thing. But as you can see, we've got, it looks like no more than 3 people with each family. This is possibly subject to change. I was waiting back on one thing from Blanca in Guatemala, who's kind of like pulling these last pieces together. For example, Gilda was on vacation, and so Blanca just was able to get in touch with her. But I would say probably like 90%, this is how it's going to be. And then on this slideshow that you'll have access to, after this second slide, then it has some information about each of the families. So for example, Julie, Sylvia, and Olivia are with Irma, and just some little fun facts about each family as far as who's in the house and what are some of their pastimes, the address, different things like that. Some of the photos of each of the rooms, so you can kind of get a picture of what the house is like. Rosalinda. And you're welcome to check it out a little bit further, or you can just wait until you get the slide deck. We're going to be putting it in the Google folder, and then there's Amparo. With Amparo, Amparo was actually my host mother in Guatemala, and so therefore, right now, I do not have any photos of Amparo's rooms, but her daughter, Ingrid, who also helps us out with these supplies for each school, she has said that she's going to be sending those very shortly. So I'll get that updated when I get it.
So there's a few partner schools that we work with, and we're going to give you a little bit of a little summary next. Cohort, so these are the 2 schools we have, and you can look on the Google map and you'll be able to see exactly where they are situated in terms of relationship to Antigua. Cohort 2 is going to be at El Hato, and El Hato is on the outskirts of Antigua in a rural area. It's a public school and has around 300 kids in it, pre-K through 6, and it is a very, very sweet place and as you'll notice, all of the kids they're very small, indigenous, and adorable. Now we have 2 people, I think, that are going to be at Ciudad de Vieja, that are in the first cohort, and for the first week, and then they're going to also be in El Hato the second week. So, and as you can see, Ciudad Vieja is another public elementary school, has a little bit more children in it, and it's situated in Antigua.
And yeah, Ciudad Vieja is actually a separate, it's actually a fairly urban situation. Mm-hmm. It's more urban than Antigua. And it's still going to be, it's not quite as long of a commute to get there versus El Hato. I want to say it's like, El Hato can be, depending on traffic, it can be like 15-ish minutes to get there in the van. And Ciudad Vieja, I want to say it's more like 10. Yeah. So yeah, it's but it is more urban than El Hato is like it's like on the side of a mountain, and it's like all of the population are basically farmers.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're going to be providing as part of your tuition, there is $35 that goes towards a donation that's kind of the agreement that we have with the school is that we provide in-kind donations to not only the administrative office, but also to each of your teachers. And so anyways, you can see on the right there that there's some common items of need. And then we're also going to be posting what each individual teacher needs. And so you'll have that access as well, as far as like if you want to know what your specific teacher needs. But yeah, anything and everything that if you have any extra room in your luggage that you're able to bring some of this stuff, it would be great. And then on that you should have gotten an invite to, as long as I have your correct Gmail account. It has a little sign up sheet just so we're not all bringing, just so they don't all of a sudden have like 500 reams of paper, and they don't need that. So anyways, if you are planning on bringing some items, then please make sure that you're heading over to the Google folder where there's a little sign up sheet, and you can note down for the sake of everybody else that you're going to be bringing some of that stuff. But there are multiple available spaces for each of these items. So just because somebody already signed up for scissors doesn't mean that you shouldn't also bring scissors. So yeah, but again, we're going to be providing $35, which works out to approximately, I want to say it's like $25 that goes directly to the kids, the Guatemalan students / your collaborating teacher. Mm-hmm. Or I'm sorry, it's $35 that goes directly towards your classroom, and then $15 that goes directly towards the administrative office.
And that doesn't sound like much, but it actually buys an awful lot of supplies. So
yeah, so yeah, if you're able to, they always are asking for like different puzzles, or obviously everything needs to be in Spanish, especially in El Hato. A lot of times Spanish isn't even the native language.
Yeah.
But English is something that usually they're very curious about, but they do have some separate non-governmental organizations that come and like teach English. But it's not typically something that the kids are really able to know.
Yeah. So we were really intentional about which classroom we placed you in, and we tried to honor a grade that was as close as possible to the one that you work with in the United States, so you could kind of have a foundation for what you might see that is the same and what is a little bit different. It is in the school setting, just as we've said before, it's just important to keep an open mind because it's so different. It's so different. And actually education is a privilege in Guatemala, especially for the kids at El Hato. You'll find that there's a difference in between how many boys and girls are oftentimes in the classrooms, and because girls stay home and help with the families, and just how they teach, because the classrooms have anywhere from 6 kids to 50 kids in the classroom. It just depends on the need, and they open their doors to whoever is available for them for learning. So if you find that you're in your classroom and you're feeling stressed out, or you're not sure how to mediate a situation or get involved, then Karen and I and Blanca are all there to help you and can help kind of solve the situation. So please, please, please don't let yourselves get stressed outside of anything normal without asking for some support. So that's what we're there for.
So here are the pairings, and so this little chart basically has where each of you will be as far as your collaborating teacher. We do try to make it so all 4 sessions you'll be with the same class, and that really provides a lot of, with the exception, of cohort 1, they're both schools during that first cohort for Lorraine and Laura. They're going to be on like their equivalent of spring break. Mm-hmm. in alternating weeks. And so for you guys, you'll be at Ciudad Vieja for the first week, and then for the second week, you'll be over at El Hato. But other than that, yeah, it's super important to be able to kind of provide a little bit of consistency so you can get to know your collaborating teacher, you can get to know the kids, you can get to know the classroom and the age group if you're unfamiliar with that age group. But as you can see, like for example, for Emily and Sylvia, who are with age groups that are from 6 to 12 years old. So just because it says for have a 12-year-old in there.
Yep.
And then the same thing with the class sizes, where whether it's like Ken or Sylvia, as far as having like more than 40 people in your class. But then we've got, on the other hand, we've got preschool, the first preschool class that only has 6 kids. So you can see that they're fairly unbalanced, but that has to do with their ability to meet the expectations for that year. And if they don't, then the retention is a lot more liberal as far as retaining a kid than it is in the US. I know at my school, I teach at a middle school, and we went through a retention with a kid 2 years ago, and the amount of paperwork that we had to get signed and to go through was extraordinary. And I know that there's a lot of research out there that shows that retention is not the best thing for the kid, depending on how old they are. But that's another thing that I wanted to mention on the school shadowing is that, especially with a lot of our training and background in education and with theory and things like that, it becomes very easy to say like, well, the way that I do it is correct and is not correct. But just, again, try to have an open mind, because first of all, the amount of resources that the teachers have is super low. One of the main classes that I've worked with throughout the years, like there's, with the math side of things, for example, there's one math textbook that is a student textbook. It's not even the teacher version. And it's super old. I want to say that it's at least 10 or 15 years old. And so it's not like they're getting a lot of support in that area. These are both public schools, which means that the only thing that the government basically, one Guatemalan told me at one time that the only thing that the government is actually paying for is the blue paint of the Guatemalan flag that goes on the side of the building.
Seriously.
To make sure that people know that, that they're doing something. But unfortunately, a lot of times that's about it. I mean, they pay for some of the teacher salaries, but unfortunately there's some corruption in that area that makes it so they're not getting nearly the resources that they should be getting. So,
and last year they had a strike while we were there.
And last year there was a strike as well. So that's a very real possibility as well. It's a really, really valuable experience just to not only get to know the kids, to get to know your collaborating teacher, and also just to be able to check out what education is like in a different corner of the world.
And actually maybe how some of the kids that you're teaching now, where their families came from, what their families actually know to be true for them in terms of education. So, and you will absolutely fall in love with your students. Another thing is somebody, when we get there, someone remind me, the first year I was there, I was working with Sylvia in the first grade classroom, and remind me to tell you the story of how I helped her make copies. We have since bought the school a copier, and I'm assuming that they use it. They don't have a copier. Oh, well, I take that back. So delete and erase what I just said, but remind me to tell you how I did copies, which I had never, ever done before. So.
And that's another thing that I just looked at Sylvia, and she's listed in second grade right now. And so especially at El Hato, the director, Patti, who's just a very lovely woman. I love Patti, and we have a really great relationship, but she decides to have her teachers go to a different grade each year. It's not necessarily looping, where like one year they'll be in 5th grade and the next year they'll be in like 3rd grade or something like that. So I'm not exactly sure what the rationale is for that, but yeah, that's where as you do form that relationship with your collaborating teacher, that might be something that can come up, is like, what class were you last year? What have you been? What do you like the most? And to have some of those questions. So before we get into this one, actually, I'm sorry, I thought there was one other slide. But sorry about that. So I'm sorry, I was interrupted by the TV here. Oh, it'll come back to me. Sorry. Couple of frequently asked questions. Packing onto the Google folder. If you haven't checked out that Google folder that was shared with you probably about 3 weeks ago, then please do so. It's gotten some new things added to it, including the map of Antigua. The map of Antigua has some of our most important kind of meetup spots, whether it's got, for anything that requires a van ride, there's a common meetup spot that will be marked on that map. So it'll kind of give you an insider edge as far as being able to see some of those things. And of course, on the first day that you're there, the first full day that you're there, there'll be an orientation that Karen, Tiffany, and or Blanca do that will show you all of the necessary spots that'll allow you to kind of know where everything is. And it's a typical colonial grid system, which makes it a little bit easier as far as, the blocks and different things like that. Although there's also a side of that makes it very complex and complicated. Yeah. So for those directionally challenging people. As far as TCall, again, I will be sending out more info on TCall. There is a kind of a generic itinerary that's on this presentation, and it's also in the Google folder. So that'll give you an idea of when and where and that kind of stuff. But if you don't get an email from me probably in the next week or two that has updated info on TCall, and there's a chance that means that I don't know that you're going to TCall. And again, with the invoice coming up, make sure that if it doesn't say TCall on your invoice, please make sure that you're letting me know. And then I believe there was one, or I think it might have been actually Miss Hercules and Cheryl that needed to do the TCall trip at the beginning of your trip. Anyways, please let me know as far as confirming that kind of stuff so that we have that all in order. And then other than that, we've got the Lake Atitlan overnight weekend excursion. We've got the Pacaya volcano hike, and this year we're actually not going to be doing the Villarica beach. I'm sorry, it's called Montarico. But if that's something that you're interested in, then our transportation company that we work with offers those types of side excursions as well. So if there's something besides Lake Atitlan or the Pacaya volcano or Tikal that you're interested in, then please let Tiffany or Karen or Blanca know, and they'll definitely put you in touch with somebody that can help you out with that. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Let me just check here.
If there's any
questions going into my email. Well,
let's see if there's any. Last time we heard that there were a few questions that we didn't answer because we couldn't see them.
Yeah, let me just, for now, let's go ahead and go to.
Oh, there is one down here. Oh, it's to the 23rd. Yeah, there's an Aaron has.
Oh, I think that's for something else. Okay, so let me just check on my phone here. Oh, yes. Okay. Julie, where will I find a packing list? That is going to be, Julie, in the Google folder. So make sure that you are checking out the Google folder. And if you do not have access to that, then please send me I believe you already did send me your Google account. So if you're having troubles with that, then please feel free to give me a call and I can guide you through that process as far as getting out of that Google folder. can we bring specific food from home?
Well, you can, but based on what you can get in the country, right? You can't bring anything fresh. It'll have to be thrown away. I don't even think you can bring nuts through customs.
Anything that originated
Yeah.
in a farm, typically they make you throw out.
Yeah. So there has been people that I think brought like spaghetti noodles and things like that. But most of this you can get in the grocery store there. There's a big supermarket in Antigua. So knowing specifically what you're wondering about in terms of food will be helpful. So a nice spot. I don't think you could.
The question was, would it be appropriate to bring a nice bottle of a valley? I don't know.
I don't know. And this is the reason why I'm not sure is number one, my experience with the families that I know, they're not actually big drinkers. There was one family that actually they were pretty big and lively partiers, but most of the families are pretty conservative in how much they drink. And you could get a bottle of wine through customs, couldn't you? If you
It just depends on the country. I think Guatemala, we need to check on their customs requirements, because I know that when I went to Spain several years ago, we were trying to take one back and they made us throw it out, which was really a tragedy. But
that would be a specific Google. So if you don't want to do it yourself, then just email one of us and we'll do it for you, figure it out. So.
But yeah,
it's a great idea, though.
It is a good idea, and it's helpful to be able to let everybody know that it is customary typically to bring a small gift. Mm-hmm. I think we might have gone over this last time. For your Spanish teacher as well as your host mother. So
yeah. So, and if you need some ideas, just email us.
I think that's it.
Other questions?
Let me just check here. I think that's it. So again, guys, if anything else comes up, it looks like we do have some viewers out there that are joining us live. So Julie must be one of them. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
And if you're joining us on a tape delay, then please feel free to send a question over to the info at Spanish4Educators, and we'll definitely answer them for you. And other than that, we will also be making sure to put on the Google folder, as well as the slide deck from the previous orientation. And then the only other kind of frequently asked question that I can think of that we came across recently is that, and I believe I have everybody's passport expiration date. So this already was an issue with one person, is that you do need to make sure that your passport does not expire 6 months from when you arrive back in the United States. So for that one person, if you have any questions on that, please feel free to give me a call and I can guide you through that process as well. Yeah.
So looking forward to meeting you all.
And again, I'm super jealous. So I'll help you out as much as possible up until departure. So, keep those questions coming in, or you can always give me a call or email. Yeah.
You'll be hearing from Karen and I shortly, probably in the next week and a half or so. So you'll have our emails in your account if you have any questions or last minute thoughts or anything like that.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Not quite as long as the last one, which is probably a good thing. So
have a good night.
Take care.